In terms of Burnley, then we'll pick our teams for the game. Alisson will be in goal, Doyley, but who are you going to go for at the back? Are you going to stick with the same back four or possibly change it up a little bit?
I'm not sure. By the way, anybody watching on YouTube, this kind of bright things just started coming through the window, which we don't normally get in England in February. Certainly not where I'm from. It's the sun, so it makes me look like I'm just being whited out of my face. Anyway, interesting one actually. I'm not sure. I'm looking ahead to that Inter Milan game on Wednesday. I should know this. I'm going, and I think. Who have they got next week? It's Norwich, isn't it? Norwich this season, honestly. So yeah, I do think, they always say we take one game at a time, but that's the biggest lie ever. They're always looking at games ahead. We've said this loads of times. So I do think it'll be Trent right back. I think Van Dijk plays. I would not be surprised if Tsimikas started, but I do think it'll be Robertson. And the other centre back, I'm going to go with Konate.
Yes, I'm going to do the same. I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I'm going to go with Konate. I'm probably going to leave Tsimikas to have Norwich at home, Ghosty, but what's your thinking?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, actually. I think Konate will start ahead of Matip. I think they're going to keep Matip in reserve for the Nerazzurri on Wednesday night, and Tsimikas for Norwich. So Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate and Trent.
Tom, you in agreement with that, or any changes?
Yeah, I think I'd probably rest Matip the Inter Milan game, but I would probably start Robertson ahead of Tsimikas against Burnley, and then Trent and Van Dijk.
Isn't that what we all said?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I'd probably do exactly the same as everybody else is doing. Yeah.
Dory, midfield.
I'm still thinking about it. Go back to Tom.
Tom, go on then. Go through your midfield. I suppose the basis point is, what are you going to change? Presumably Thiago and Fabinho will play, will they? Or possibly is there, again, a change to make there with the Champions League in mind?
Well, if Henderson's fit, like Klopp seems to think he might be, I'd probably put him back into midfield, and probably Thiago and Fabinho again. Yeah.
Donny, have you decided?
Yes, right. And I'm going to go with Fabinho, and I'm not going to go with Thiago. I'm going to go with Henderson. And I'm also going to play Keita, because Keita, if memory serves me right here, he played a very good game against Burnley a couple of years ago at Burnley when they won 3-1. But he played like in the middle of a 4-4-2. I think that's the one where Gomez was right back and broke his leg that game. So I do think that Keita, it's probably, it's time to play. I know he was decent against Cardiff without being absolutely fantastic, so in the first half, but I do think it's probably time for him to get a game, and I'd have him in there.
Yeah, probably a few players that you could say it's time for them to have a game. But Ghosty, are you going to go with Keita as well, or what's the sort of thinking for you?
I'd like to just go Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago. I do still think that is Liverpool's best midfield, but we worry is over-exerting Thiago. He hasn't played a whole lot, has he? And I think Inter Milan is going to be a huge game. So, a bit reluctant to start Harvey Elliott as well, because I think Burnley famously, don't mess about, do they? And I think a young guy coming back from such a serious injury might be a recipe for disaster. So I'm a bit torn, actually, with the midfield. Maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'll go with Fabinho, Henderson, and Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I wouldn't be surprised if Oxlade-Chamberlain starts instead of Keita. Just thought I'd say that.
Yeah, it's certainly a possibility, isn't it? It's a real conundrum, isn't it, with all of the options in midfield? And I suppose you could say the same as well, Tom, for the forward line. It's again a number of different options. Probably Sadio Mane you wouldn't expect to play, but the others, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say I probably would have started Mane, but it doesn't sound like probably sounds like he's not going to start. So it might be one that he just comes on later on in the match, maybe later on. So in that case, I guess I'd go for Firmino in attack, Jota again, and then Diaz.
Interesting. No Salah for Tom. Ghosty?
No, I
Ghosty?
probably wouldn't play him for that.
Oh.
No.
Ooh, big call. Ghosty?
Yeah, I'd be playing Mo Salah. I'd start Mane as well, actually. He hasn't played for... He won't have played for a week, will he? He's had plenty of rest away from the pitch, even if he's, been partying it up in Dakar or whatever it was. Mane, Salah, and what are you laughing at?
Wherever it was,
Yeah,
wherever
I assume it was in the capital of Senegal. I'm not sure. Yeah, and you just can't really leave Jota out, can you? As much as you might be thinking about that Inter Milan game, I just think he's just right banging form. So Jota, Mane, Salah.
Yeah, I thought Luis Diaz would start one of Thursday or Sunday going in. Given he started on Thursday, that means I'm not going to play him Sunday. But what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not playing him, and I'm also not playing Mane. So it's going to be Salah on the right, Firmino down the middle, and Jota on the left, which then leads to the game Inter Milan where Diaz won't start, but one of those front three will not be starting. And if it's not Firmino, it could become an interesting story.
Yes, it certainly could. And we will come to that interesting story on Monday's podcast.
I need to get that point in because I'm not going to be here for the podcast on Monday. So I just wanted to say it now.
Yes, perfect. We will come back to it with whoever is in and available for us on Monday. But just before we go today, we will go for our usual score predictions. I'm going to go for another 2-0 Liverpool win, I think. Doherty, how do you reckon it might be?
I've also just remembered my brain and said I'm actually going to be here on Monday, so I got my days all wrong. So I'll repeat that on Monday, so you know what part of the podcast is going to be. Liverpool have actually got. I know they lost the first game at Burnley, didn't they? It's one of Klopp's second game of Klopp's second game of Klopp's first full season. They got beat 2-0.
Yeah,
But since then they've won every single game, and Burnley tend to not be very good at home against the good teams. I mean, okay, they got a point against United, but as I say, they tend to not be very good against the good teams. So I think Liverpool will win. We know what it's going to be like. I'm going to go with 3-1 Liverpool.
Ghosty, how do you reckon it might play out?
I think the interesting point is this about Weghorst that they've just signed. I mean, I think he seems to be a lot. I mean, I've only seen glimpses of him. I've seen him the other night, but he seems to be a bit of an upgrade on Chris Wood, like for like in terms of big target man. But I still think Liverpool will have enough to shut Burnley out, and they don't tend to have too many problems despite this narrative that exists from a game in August 2016. I think Liverpool will win 3-0.
Yeah, Weghorst, a big Liverpool fan, I am told by someone in Germany. So apparently that could be an interesting storyline as well. Tom, who are you, or rather, what are you going to go for the scoreline?
Paul's just gone with my prediction. I was going to go for 3-0. I don't think Burnley will score. I think it'll be comfortable enough for Liverpool. So say 3-0.
Good stuff. Well, plenty of build-up and reaction to come in all of the usual places. But from myself, Matt Addison, from Ian Doyle, Paul Ghost and Tom Cavilla, it's goodbye for now.